February 2013. And happy February. It's Tuesday. Thank you to folks that have come that had your patience with our prior meeting. Chair Clerk Leffler-Kemp, if you could please call roll.
Chair Harlock here. Member Johnston. Member Kirby. Here. Member Oswell. Here. Member Sandstead. Here. Member Welty. Here. Superintendent Grunset.
Here.
Deputy Clerk Bill Hansen. Here. Secretary Belinda Thibault. Here. And student reps Spencer Frederickson from East. And Alex Stabbs, not here. And Johanna Udden. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. And we will say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we will move to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Member Sandstead.
Second.
Seconded by Member Leffler-Kemp. Any discussion? Seeing no lights, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Move on to the reading of the minutes. Do I have a motion for approving the minutes for Tuesday, January 19th? Moved by Member Welty, seconded by Member Sandstead. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Move to the minutes of the special school board meeting on Monday, February 8th. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move.
So moved by Member Leffler-Kemp.
Second.
Seconded by Member Sandstead. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Now we move to school and community recognition. Members, if you could please meet me down front. We're doing it in lieu of. They're going to read it. Oh, he's not here for a picture. Right, but he's not here. Well, for a picture. Okay. So we'll thank him and smile at the cameras. Okay. Good evening. Members of the board, this month I'm pleased to recognize Duluth resident William Keller for recognition. Unfortunately, Mr. Keller is not able to be with us tonight, but we want to go forward and share this recognition. Duluth East High School is a recipient of a $1,500 donation check from Mr. Kellogg, thanks to a donation through the Kellogg's Back to School Text to Win sweepstakes. Not only did Mr. Keller designate the donation to Duluth East, he then matched that donation with a personal donation of another $1,500 for a total of $3,000 donation. The donation will benefit the Duluth East Orchestra program. In an interview with KBGR TV, Mr. Keller said that he made the donation because he was committed to music since childhood and his father played in the Duluth Symphony. Eileen Bradley, the orchestra director for Duluth East, said part of the money will be used to get a new viola, an instrument that was played by Mr. Keller's father. Many thanks to Mr. Keller for thinking of our schools and providing this generous donation. Thank you. Superintendent.
One notable thing about Mr. Keller is I believe he's 97 years old. Yes.
That's really special. Thank you. And now we move on to the audience portion of our evening. Thank you, Member Johnston. Thank you. Our first presenter will be Bernie Burnham. Welcome, Bernie. We've appreciated these presentations monthly. Thank you for bringing in members of our staff.
Well, thank you, and it's very nice to be here this evening. It's always great to bring our teachers with us. I've got three great folks with me tonight. Cindy Jamar is here, and Donna Hanna was going to come with her, but she had a family emergency. But Cindy can speak to their partnership and their collaboration that happens out at Lester Park School. And then following Cindy's talk, we'll have a couple of folks who are in our mentor program. And I know I spoke with Dr. Carey this morning about how important we believe the mentoring program is, and so I know that we're talking about budget these days too, but we always hope that this is something that is to the forefront. And tonight we have Allie Yakel and Kim Eaton, both kindergarten teachers at Laura MacArthur School. So Cindy will go first. Thank you for having us as always.
Thank you very much. Cindy, feel free to come up. I forgot to say this earlier. Member Leffler, you can come on up as you walk up. Clerk Leffler Kemp will put on the light, and when it starts, oh my gosh. Members our audience have 3 minutes to speak, and then it'll blink when it's time to.
The one on here?
No, this little light up here.
Don't look that way.
And just a reminder to folks to make sure that comments are encouraging and are people-centered. So.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Cindy Jamar. I teach 4th grade at Lester Park, and my partner, who would have been standing here with me, Donna Hanna, is the Phi Ed teacher at our building. She's full-time this year. And I've come tonight to talk about the terrific opportunities that we've had at our school and most of the other elementary schools this year, because we have full-time Phi Ed people in our building. So the collaboration is huge and wonderful. We've done it before. We do it still with our other specialists, but to have somebody there day in and day out. As members last year, you had okayed additional funding for putting a Phi Ed teacher from a 2-day rotation to a 3-day rotation, which puts them in the school one more day every 8 days, which is kind of crazy. Other people don't even know how to operate that way. I just have to say thank you, and I hope that you can do more, as Bernie's saying, money-wise. But what this opportunity has done for us is, for a specific example, is that one time this year in the fall, I have 2 different units that talk about, it's a medical thing, I sometimes have a brain fade. Truly, I do. That is about geometry. And one unit involves triangles and the other one involves quadrilaterals. And within that comes a lot of vocabulary words in order to be able to talk about, create, describe, compare and contrast. You have to learn all this vocabulary. And that just alone is dry and, So in my classroom, we do some fun things with parallel and intersecting and perpendicular. But to take it to the next level and bring it up into the Phi Ed classroom, into the gym, and then, is that telling me I'm done? Oh, okay. I can't tell the difference. The students were able to, so take some time when you're in a gym, look up at that ceiling. All of those things up there are really geometry, and they practiced all of that. And then they had to rotate around in the gym to the different areas she had set up using those words, and they had to do something with them. So it was wonderful to see it, hear it, say it, do it, and that's kind of my motto I've always taught with, and I teach the kids. So I just wanted to share that. It's wonderful to collaborate every day if we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's really wonderful to hear. Good. The building was built that way. All right. Next we have Allie Yakel. We're going to go together. Oh, great. And Kim Eaton together.
So, can I start? Okay. I'm Kim Eaton, and I have been teaching for 19 years for the district. And when I first got the letter saying they were bringing back this mentor program, I didn't really know what it was. I wasn't sure if I could really do it, be a mentor still, because there's always these changes. I always feel like I need a mentor. But I decided to do it, and I'm really glad I did. I was paired up with Allie, and luckily in my building and in my same grade level, and I kind of just thought back to all the times I needed help when I first started out, and thought I would try. And this program's just brought me a lot of opportunity to meet other people in the district and collaborate with them. And they've been just so good at, they're organized. They've sent out emails and articles for us to read and things for us to talk about. And just the relicensure opportunities. Every month they give us some new topic for us to go to, and we go together. And it's been really great. I'm very glad that you gave the opportunity to us, and I hope that it's something you can continue on doing. And hopefully I'll be able to continue to take part in it. Allie?
Hi, my name is Allie Yackel, and like Kim said, I'm a kindergarten teacher at Laura MacArthur. This is my first year teaching, and coming into this job, I was not aware that I would have a mentor, but I am so thankful that I did. I can honestly say without a mentor, without Kim, I do not know where I would be today. And I don't know where my students would be. I see a lot of success in my classroom, and I give a lot of thanks to Kim, my mentor, for that. One of the most beneficial things for me, besides all the questions I have that I've been able to ask him, was we were able to swap classrooms. So we had the opportunity for half of a day for either Kim to come into my classroom or me to go into Kim's classroom, and I chose to go observe Kim teach. And that was truly wonderful. For example, I was struggling with how to set up centers in my classroom, as I've never done it or really seen it before. And I was able to go watch Kim and actually see the environment and how she ran her centers and what that looked like. And it allowed me to bring a lot of those ideas into my classroom. So it's truly been wonderful. Just looking back at the beginning of the year, I can't believe how many little questions I actually had. And I'm so thankful that I had a person to talk to about that without judgment, without evaluation, somebody that I felt safe and comfortable to talk with. I really think that that's helped me and my students both succeed. So I hope that new teachers in the future are also able to have mentors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to hear. Thanks for sharing. Next we have Linda Ross Sellner. Welcome, Linda.
Good evening, staff and board members. Thank you for your service. I'm also a public servant. I currently serve on the Duluth Public Utilities Commission, and I served on the Environmental Advisory Council for 2 terms before that. Earlier this month, I read of your $3.3 million deficit, and the DNT stated that no investment or reduction options were proposed to you. I'd like to propose one for your reconsideration. But first, could we quickly review some of the impacts of the proposed Edison High School environmental footprint? A 171-acre site originally acquired by George Hovland, a developer. He appeared before the Environmental Advisory Council about a dozen years ago. He got this land because it was going to be kept in its natural state. This is before Duluth's comprehensive plan. That's why he had to meet with us. And it was to be kept in a natural state. Now at 89 and in need of another $1 million, he sells it to an out-of-state developer to build a school and rent that school to Edison for about $1.7 million a year. He's also going to build market-rate and affordable multi-family housing on the site, with limited input from Edison on what he does with the rest of the site, actually. So the school itself will be ugly, 108,000 square feet, steel frame, precast concrete, and supposedly ample pickup and drop-off space and adjacent parking. But I attended the site plan approval meeting at Edison, and there will be probably inadequate parking. 2 variances will have to be obtained from the Minnesota Department of Education guidelines. They're also going to build a road all around the back of the perimeter of the site. It's going to hook onto Rice Lake Road and Arrowhead Road. There's going to be 2 new stoplights put in, one at Airport Road and Rice Lake Road. I'm not quite sure where the other one is. They're going to lose the 10K trail. They're going to have to move a maintenance building from Snowflake. So this 22-acre building site on 171-acre property expected to be kept in a natural condition. But here's the worst part. The site has remained undeveloped for another reason. It's all wetlands and steep slopes. Is this a problem? This site is the headwater wetlands for the Chester and Tisher Creeks, 2 trout streams. Wetlands function to hold water like a sponge, to clean and filter water, and to slow-moving water. Most of the wetlands in Duluth have been developed. They're gone. And so we have problems with flooding in the severe precipitation events that are expected to come about in climate change in the future. Wetlands have been mitigated elsewhere, but they don't do us any good in Duluth. Mount Royal, I live downstream. Like I said, Mount Royal and UMD was like a lake during the 2012 flood. The Vermilion Road infrastructure buckled like dominoes. So here's my budget reduction option. Sell Edison the central campus. They were interested. A 2013 survey of Edison supporters previously said they were interested in the central campus.
Excuse me, Ms.
Find a way. Introduce a board resolution. Change policy if policy needs to be changed. You are the only ones who can save this native virgin wetland that is at the headwaters of 2 trout streams in Duluth, and you'll reduce your budget deficit at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your consideration. And think outside the box, please.
Thank you. Next, we have Lauren Martell.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for a few minutes. The new Spanish immersion program and development of a full school community collaborative at Lincoln Park are excellent additions to ISD 709. But both are very small starts, and I continue to fear they're not enough. I'm particularly concerned about Denfeld. During one of the forums of the last election, the statement was made that it didn't matter if Denfeld had fewer students than East. I didn't have a chance to respond, but I disagree. 600 fewer students and a tougher to teach demographic makes Denfeld much more vulnerable to competition. During the last campaign, I ran into a state legislator. I pointed out to him that when Johnson Controls promises went south up in the St. Louis County District, they were able to secure $4 million of bonding money to help bail them out. He replied, "I know, Tom Bach did that." I asked, "What's the chances of something like that happening here?" He said, "I think there's a way we can do it, but we're not just going to throw money at it. You have to have a plan." We've had a number of meetings, but it's ISD 709 that's been reluctant to admit there's a problem. The problem with not admitting that there's a problem is that you can't find a solution. He told me I could ring his doorbell if I won, and I was going to give it everything I had. I was going to rattle every tree in this town and see if we could shake some money out of the bonding package. Is a zoo more important than Denfeld? The enrollment numbers Art Johnston brought up last month should have been sobering. Last year, Mr. Johnston passed out a graph showing that Denfeld graduated fewer students than before we invested the $46 million into the building. As was just mentioned, a major competitor is entering the marketplace in a year and a half. What is your real-world solution for dealing with this problem? Denfeld could really be hurt here. With another large deficit looming, any solution would probably require some outside money. Any plan you come up with to boost the school's competitiveness would have to be implemented by next fall, and I'm just not sensing enough urgency. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martell. Next, we have Tim Davis. Thank you, Rosie. Welcome, Tim. It was me. I said, welcome, Tim.
Thank you. Normally when I come up to the school board and I speak to the school board, I'm normally pretty cool, calm, and collected. Well, not now. I will be respectful. I will be amicable. The graduation rates are extremely horrible and extremely tragic, if not criminal. You have failed me as a concerned community member. Are these graduation rates a result of the RED plan? 13 buildings in 2 high schools. Why do we have the graduation rates that we have? Why is there no admin of color? Why is there no African American principals? Why is there no African American teachers? I failed our students, and I failed our African American students, and I hold myself accountable. It's kind of hard to have faith in the current administration when we have these horrible, horrific numbers. Are these a result of the RED plan? How could you, the current administration, fail our African American students? How could I have failed our African American students? I'm sickened and I'm very troubled for our district, for our students, for all of us. If we don't act now, we will continue to have subpar graduation rates at best. And I'm saddened. It's a sad day in Duluth Public Schools that we have on the front page of the paper the graduation rates that we have for Native American students, for African American students. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be done now. I'm willing to work with the current administration to find a solution, to find action and concrete steps to move forward. That I am willing to do. As I hold you accountable, I hold Tim accountable as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Are there any other speakers that have signed up? Okay, thank you very much. We will now move on to the reading communications and petitions. Superintendent Gronseth.
All right. Start off with no communications were received by the board by post. And I'll speak to the graduation rates in just a moment, but first I have to wish everyone a happy I Love to Read month. I know that the schools have been very busy with all kinds of activities centered around reading. I also know that several, if not all, of the board members have had opportunities to visit our schools this month and to be reading, and I know that continues. I know I'm reading in a few more classrooms tomorrow as well. And you know, as I began as an elementary teacher, it's one of my favorite places to be, and just being in that magic of literacy and young children in our schools. And I want to take this opportunity also to speak to the importance of early literacy and really encourage everyone at home and with their grandkids and their neighbors and nieces and nephews to be reading to young children as often as possible. That bedtime story time is very important to the development of our young people's language, and as is providing access to books at a young age. And we have several organizations right here in the city that are working on doing just that, giving more kids access to books. One of them is a project called the Little Red Bookshelf, and the Children's Museum has taken over operating the Little Red Bookshelf that's available all across the community, and people can drop off donations of books with the Children's Museum, and they take care of stocking those shelves all around the city. I've also noticed that all across the city, tiny libraries are popping up in people's yards, and they're just really a little house on a post where kids can share books or take books, and it's really a great opportunity for neighborhoods to get into the action of providing literature for children and sometimes adults as well. And you know, with our rainy, cold weather, it's a perfect time to be building one in your workshop to put up in the spring and start a new library. So that being said, as Tim mentioned, in the news just this week, graduation rates were released statewide, and I have to start by saying overall we can be proud of some of the progress that we've made, because our overall rates are up for Duluth schools and in all but one group. And as Tim said, our Native American students didn't realize that gain. But clearly we have more work to do, and we know that. We know that not all of our kids are graduating at the same rates, depending on what group of students we're talking about, whether it's African American students, Native American students, those receiving free and reduced price lunch, or those receiving special education. We know that those are the areas that we need to continue to work on. And I think that the work that we're doing to implement a multi-tiered system of support, the work we're doing with our teachers and PLCs, asking those 4 questions of what we want our kids to know and be able to do. How do we know when they know it? What do we do when they haven't learned it? And what do we do when they already know it? Those are important questions to making progress on our graduation rates across the board. Also, the work that we're doing in culture and climate is of the utmost importance, and I think it's all taking us in the right direction. We're also working to increase opportunities for our students and to engage them not only in school but in the community, because we all have a role in making sure that our kids are successful in our community. In fact, engagement and community engagement is one of the topics we're going to be discussing in this year's Think Kids meetings, and we'll be gathering feedback on the year so far, those things that we've done well and those things that maybe didn't work out as well as we had hoped. We'll be talking about updating the district-wide continuous improvement plan, and the meetings start tomorrow, so they're very timely. And the first meetings, I believe, are at Lowell and Lester Park. And people can visit our website at isd709.org to get a full schedule of the meetings. There'll be meetings at every school. Doesn't matter which meeting you go to. The topics are the same and the information is the same no matter where we're meeting. There's also an online version that has all of the information, but also has the questions to answer that we'll be asking in those meetings. I think that the conversation that happens in the Think Kids meetings is very beneficial, so if you can fit it into your schedule, it'd be great to show up in person. So I hope everyone grabs a friend or two and finds a meeting that's convenient to their schedule and head out to a Think Kids meeting over the next 3 weeks. And I realized today that the final meeting is on St. Patrick's Day, so maybe we'll, wear green at the last meeting or something. But so now I'll ask our student representatives to share a few of the highlights happening in the schools. And I can't remember who started last month, but maybe we'll go with Johanna with a report from Denfeld. Sorry, Representative Unden.
So over on the Western Front, many things have been happening inside my school. On February 6th, Denfeld hosted the 55th Annual Rotary Speech Tournament, which has been an exciting and lively event each and every year. We are proud to welcome the participation of 585 students, 103 judges, and 27 schools. Amongst the speech tournament, students had been buzzing for weeks about Denfeld's participation in Hockey Day, Minnesota, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Even at 10 in the morning with sub-freezing temperatures, we had a large student section show up to watch our hockey team defeat Eveth Gilbert 5-2. And surprisingly, the speech tournament and Hockey Day Minnesota were still not the only things happening in Denfeld on February 6th. The same evening, we held our annual Sweetheart Dance at the deck. And of course, leading up to the big event, the previous week was spent dressing up for Spirit Days and crowning our king and queen of athletics. Kicking off Spirit Week on Monday was Awareness Day, in which students chose a color to represent and show awareness for a specific cause, like breast cancer or mental health. Tuesday was Twin Day, Wednesday was Wild West Day, Thursday was Support Your Sport, and Friday, of course, was Maroon and Gold Day. Not only were hunters dressing up for Spirit Week, they were also participating in important fundraising events. Students from Denfeld paired up with students from Cloquet for an event called Souls for Souls. For about a month, Denfeld students and staff brought in gently used pairs of shoes, which will be delivered to Cloquet and shipped to multiple countries around the world for people of all ages living in poverty. In total, Denfeld was able to raise 180 pairs of shoes, which will all be put to a good cause. Along with Souls for Souls, we held another blood drive. Over 40 students gave blood, resulting in over 120 saved lives thanks to those volunteers. Among other things, hunters had been also participating in many school sports this winter. As those sports have been coming to an end, Denfeld is proud to say that 2 of our teams qualified for state. The Shoreliners dance team plays third in sections and earned a spot at the Target Center. And Nathaniel Rothschild from the Nordic ski team also earned a spot at the state competition. Both the Shoreliners and Nathaniel did a great job, and it was an honor to have them represent Denfeld at their competitions. Recently, students started the process of registering for next year's classes with the help of our counselors, who spent a day visiting classrooms and helping inform students on what they should be registering for. Just as seniors are moving on from high school, on February 9th, staff and students welcomed the class of 2020 at the 8th grade orientation. On an academic side of things at Denfeld, we have begun an effort to help students raise test scores with the help of TOSAs, Teachers on Special Assignments. We have a math and literary TOSA who come into our math and English classes once a month to give us short lessons on topics that we are tested on in our MCAs but are not in our general curriculum. Students are given a pre- and post-test on these topics, and it's a great way to prepare for the MCAs. Since implementing TOSAs into classrooms, test scores from the pre to post tests have been improving. And with all that's been going on, it's safe to say Dunfeld has had a very exciting and productive month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Representative Frederickson from the east side.
Oops.
Good evening. On the sports side of things, Hockey Day Minnesota was a great success, even though the Greyhounds lost 3-2. East Hockey will also play Herbert Grand Rapids on Thursday night in the hockey section final in order to make it to state for the 8th year in a row, which would be great to see. Our one-act team did not make it to state by 1 point, sadly, but the play was very good, and it was about the Holocaust. It was very informational. It was awesome to see our alpine ski team members and cross-country members make it to the state competition, which happened 2 weeks ago. We'd again like to thank Mr. Keller for his generous donation to our great music programs. Students have also started to register for classes for the 2016 and 2017 school year, and are happy to see many new classes being given now. And it's awesome to see that, and many students are trying to have a great opportunity to see non-traditional classes like robotics and aerospace physics in their schedules. It was a huge turnout for the open house as 8th graders got to tour the school, and their parents also had the opportunity to tour and see all the clubs and opportunities that their loved ones have inside East. We have just finished up our Red and Gray Spirit Week, as it was a great success, as students got to see how crazy to look at school and wear fun costumes and go to dances and play dodgeball at lunch. It was awesome. Leadership groups are now organizing a basketball tournament with all funds going towards a food drive, and it's being called March Madness. Student groups have also started to raise awareness for our mental health by starting counseling groups, and raise awareness to students who are feeling down to go to their counselors immediately if they are having depression or stress levels are very high. We also got to see a successful blood drive on January 30th, as we had a full roster of students happy to give blood and very generous. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.
Member Johnston, you had a question.
Yeah, if I could, if the chair could allow me make a slight comment over one of the comments that were made earlier.
I think, there's comments that we'll have available at the end of the night.
I'd like to make a comment on what was spoke by one of the people.
By the superintendent, or?
Yes.
Okay, by the superintendent, if you have a question for the superintendent, you're welcome to ask him.
No, I have a comment on what the superintendent said.
Member Johnson, I'm not going to go toe-to-toe, but that's where comments are for at the end of the board meeting, where they're to be.
Typically, occasionally we make exceptions to make comments on what people say.
Okay,
and I'm
I'll give you a minute.
For that. Let's take a minute. Of course, I also seen the headlines in the paper today too, and some of you have seen some of the information that I've been sending out on that for a long time. I want to emphasize again, I'm hoping that the chair will go ahead and schedule this. I think we should have a committee of the whole meeting to talk about our graduation rates. And I do want to give a couple other statistics which the paper missed completely. One, Minnesota is the 46th or 48th lowest state in when it comes to graduation rates for Native Americans and African Americans. And in Minnesota, Duluth, when it comes to Native Americans, is in the lowest 14th percentile in Minnesota schools. For Native Americans, African Americans were in the lowest 20th percentile in the state. So not only is Minnesota one of the lowest states on graduating community of color, we're also one of the lowest schools in the district. And just really quick, as somebody mentioned Denfeld. Denfeld was missed in the paper, has the lowest number of graduates, I believe, ever last year. And if you look at the disparity between the East and West, it's between graduation rates, it's really unacceptable. As a school board member, this has to be a high priority for us to address this. And the neat thing, I want to end on a positive note, as I've been talking lots of MBE committees and whatnot, as the schools have addressed that, and we can too. We have to.
Member Leffler-Kemp, if you could get going with the Education Committee report.
Sure. I'm excited to do the Education Committee. I did want to just thank again our two student reps for your rich report of all kinds of great activities happening at your schools. I did have a chance to attend Dear Finder, the one-act play, exceptional learning going on with that play, and I volunteered the whole day at the speech tournament at Denfeld, and it was really great to work hand in hand with students and parents out there. So thank you again for your rich report. In terms of the Education Committee, which I move, I want to first start with our informational presentations. We had presentations from Dr. Mike Carey and Tom Albright, our Civic Engagement Coordinator, giving an overview of the school district's partnership with AmeriCorps. We also had Tracy Klana, who's the Executive Director with Community Services YMCA, and Jay Rusler, who's the Director of our Community Education Program, update us on the Key Zone and the True North AmeriCorps partnership. And both of the presentations were rich with lots of information and lots of numbers, and most importantly, they talked about the collaborations. We've heard collaboration a lot tonight, the collaborations and the partnerships that we have in the community and we have with these organizations. And won't go into, just because of the time, some of the background information, but I did want to share that it was very impressive to hear that we have 62 members serving in our Reading Corps, AmeriCorps, and Math Corps programs, serving throughout our elementary schools throughout the district. And with our after-school programming that we are serving over 1,400 students through the summer and the school year. And the surveys that are done of the students and the families involved, we heard about 77% of the students improved in their academic performance. 67% of students improved in their academic engagement. Again, we, through the updates, learned a lot more about the variety of community partnerships, and both of the AmeriCorps program and the Key Zone, that's part of our intervention strategies that we are working with in the district. And so lots of great background information for people who want to learn more about that. We also had, number 2 was our annual Head Start training, and Pam Rees, who is the director of our Head Start program, provides required training to the school board members pertaining to what our roles and responsibilities are as elected officials as related to the Duluth Public Schools Head Start program. And I do serve on the Head Start governing committee as the school board rep. We were fortunate, as Pam did her presentation, she also brought 2 parents who are leaders on their governing board, Missy Meyer and Mike Van Ert. And again, wonderful collaboration that we have with our Head Start program. We've had this program in our school district since 1964. And the training, the annual training that's provided to the board covers a variety of areas, and I think we all enjoy the director Pam Reese's presentations and the background she provides. One of the things she did share that we're looking forward to reporting on more is this year Head Start will be providing transportation. We have 2 pilot sites at Piedmont and Myers-Wilkins, and so we're looking forward to seeing that help support families and provide more families opportunities. The next section of my report is grant applications, and again, we're very fortunate. We have staff across the district writing many grants and providing many different additional opportunities for students and families and staff. And there's a list of 10 different grants that were submitted, 3 that are already awarded that we'll be approving a resolution on. And again, I won't go into each of these, but just say that the grants deal with topics from teacher mentorship, which we heard a little bit about earlier tonight, to state arts board grants, to leveled reading books for our new Spanish immersion program, and grants to help support the CPR program that we have for all of our 10th graders in our health classes. So a variety of really wonderful opportunities with these grants for our students. I'm going to touch on one of the grants listed was our Minnesota Department of Education grant, which just want to thank Jason Crane, who is the director of our special services, who worked with a team of folks in collaboration to write this grant. And this is a grant, again, we'll be voting on that was awarded. This particular grant is very much tied to our continuous improvement plan. It's very much tied to improving graduation rates for Black and American Indian children and youth with disabilities. And it's a grant of a huge amount. And so, and thank also Dr. Tanya Lake for helping provide a lot of the data to help get that grant written. So that's the section on grants. And then in terms of action items, do you want me to? Okay. We have extended field trip requests, and it seems like each month we have our students going to wonderful places and doing great things, and this one is for 4th grade students from Congdon Park Elementary traveling to Wolf Ridge Environmental Learning Center up in Finland, Minnesota. I know across the district many of our elementary schools have that same opportunity as well. And then the resolutions deal with grant awards, and should we start with that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so page 78. Okay, resolution, I move resolution E2163334, resolution accepting of grant awards to Duluth Public Schools, whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 requires a school district to accept grants by resolution expressed in the terms prescribed by the donor in full. And whereas acceptance of the grant in accordance with the donor's terms is in the best interest of the Duluth Public Schools, now therefore be it resolved that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described grants from said organizations in accordance with the terms set forth here within. Be it further resolved that the Duluth Public Schools wishes to extend its grateful appreciation to these various organizations. And again, the Minnesota Department of Education, the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, and the Northland Foundation are the 3 organizations.
So thank you for moving that, Member Leffler-Kemp. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Member Kirby. All those in favor, or any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Member Leffler-Kemp. You may continue.
And then Section C, Policies and Regulations on page 90. And this is second reading, and this is moving to remove the homebound instruction, deleting the homebound instruction, policy 6190, as it is really an outdated policy and there's not a model policy to go with it. And again, this is our second reading. We discussed in the past that the assistant superintendent works with our homebound families as well, but it's a second reading. Okay. And then on page 91, policy 6050, school calendar. This is let's see, a deletion, yes, thank you, of this. And the new policy is 602, the organization of school calendar and school day. That's on page 92. And it's recommended that the Duluth School Board approve policy 602 for its first reading. Okay. And then there is no other action items. The last item is diploma certifications, and I want to just read through this quick. We had 10 diplomas that we are awarding. Adam Michael Berg, Jacob B. Dahlgren, Jordan D. Ford, Nathaniel W. Holmes, Zachary Thomas Hyatt, Stacy Jean Marie Larson, Francisco Sky Legardo, Myra C. Snowgrass, Grant R. Stark, and Morano McGill Wallach. And it's recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve the above listed diploma certifications. And then there's future items. I move the education agenda.
Member Leffler-Kemp has moved and Member Welty has seconded. Any discussion on the Education Committee report? Member Welty.
I won't really pull this item. I'll just make a comment about it because I have very little else to say. It was a long meeting. We did good things. But during the annual Head Start training, I was gratified when Pam Reese brought us all chocolates. It's an amicable group. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Under $5. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you very much, Member Leffler-Kemp, for a great report. Moving on to the we'll vote on this. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Report passes 7-0. Thank you. Moving on to the Human Resources Committee. Member Kirby. I'll turn it on for you.
Okay.
There you
Thank
go.
you. Thank you. The Human Resources Committee met on February 8th, and I have some staffing report action items and then one other item for approval of a new position. And I'll read through the staffing action items first. There was one certified appointment, 2 certified long-term subs, 1 certified resignation, 1 certified temporary decrease, 1 certified temporary increase, 1 certified leave, 6 non-certified appointments, 8 non-certified leaves, 1 non-certified long-term sub, 2 non-certified permanent increases, 5 non-certified resignations, and 4 non-certified temporary increases. We also approved a new position, the full-service community school coordinator, which comes out of a grant that was approved last month. These funds from this grant are going to be used to hire this coordinator to begin planning, implementing, and integrating the full-service community school model at Lincoln Park Middle School. And this will allow coordination and delivery of social, health, and economic and educational services throughout the school and community, and improve the outcomes for students at Lincoln Park and continue those who are going on from Myers-Wilkins. This is a 2-year grant at this point in time, and there was some discussion made that we should make it clear that the position is grant funded. But it should be a very good thing, and the staff that helped develop this is to be congratulated. So that I move that was all of the Human Resources Committee, and I move that this be accepted, this report be accepted.
Thank you. It's been moved by Member Kirby, seconded by Member Leffler-Kemp. Any discussion? Member Welty.
Yes, I will confess that what I'm about to raise is not on the agenda, but I do believe it is employee related, and I just want to make sure that this is something that was not overlooked. And I'll just give a little bit of background for
Member Welty.
If I could.
Member Welty, it
yes.
needs to do directly with the agenda. Comments we can have at the very end of our meeting, but it doesn't need to do directly with what's on the agenda item. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I would like to just ask this question then, point of information. I believe that we are about to have a number of changes in our custodial staffing in March based upon decisions made last year by the board. I would like to know if those decisions that are about to be made follow the letter of what the board agreed with last year, and if not, why we have not yet discussed them. That's my question.
Thank you.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not currently on the agenda for us to discuss that, but I would be happy to follow up with you directly.
Well, follow it up with another question. Yes, I understand that we have to follow the protocol that currently exists on setting the agenda, but as we will have these things take place at a point in time when we cannot discuss them, I am concerned. So all I really need to know is whether or not the question I've just asked is based upon a decision or a change in the decision that the school board made last year, because obviously next month it will be too late for us to discuss this in advance and consider the implications of making a change in the board
From my recollections,
decision.
correct. You're
yes.
correct. From my recollections, it is all within the same presentation. And you and I can discuss this following the meeting, Member Welty. We've already gone beyond this. We approved the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, and as somebody who also follows many Roberts rules and holds very firm to them, I will hold firm to them now. So thank you very much. I'll make a comment with regard to this agenda. We can follow up after. Thank you, Member Welty. Are there any discussions that have to do with this direct Human Resources Committee report? Member Johnston.
Yes, I've got a question. I've been getting calls about a possible lowering of wages, and I don't see anything in this human resource action items that would indicate that. This is supposed to be happening somewhat soon, and I'm just wondering why those calls that I've got, I don't know a lot of details about them. I've been getting calls that there's some changes are being made, and I don't see any changes in here.
Member Johnston, that's the same question that Member Welty.
No, it's not. I'm asking why aren't those things on here? Because it's going to happen.
Member Johnston, it's not on the agenda.
Well, yes, this is the agenda. I got a human resource action item. Staffing committee report. I'm asking why those reductions are not on this, because this is action that we're taking, and I don't see those positions that I was told were going to be changed on this report. So why aren't they on that report?
Mr. Swirsky, or actually Superintendent.
Sorry. I'm not exactly sure what Member Johnston is referring to, but that would be something that you could send me the question or send the chair the question, and we'll get back to you.
As we need to stick to the committee, and someone who always follows Robert's rules as well, Member Johnston, will continue with this agenda. If there are additional questions, would be happy to answer them and also make sure that that information is provided to you. Well,
that was this question about this. I just wanted a simple answer. Why aren't those positions on here?
With regard to certain positions, they aren't listed. It's not a part of our current agenda. They can be.
Well, how can we eliminate or lower wages if we don't have it on this action item? I mean, this is
Mr.
important.
Swirsky. Mr. Swirsky.
There currently is no action happening to lower wages of any existing employees in the district that I'm aware of. I think I have an inkling what you're talking about, and it's the posting of our custodial positions and some other positions that right now are being filled by subs. But other than that, there is no board action before you, or you are not being requested to lower anybody's wages.
And please let me reiterate, this is a discussion that's very important to have. It's just not directly related to our agenda item currently, and so members of the board appreciate sticking to our agenda. Any other questions on the agenda items listed? Seeing no other lights, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to the Business Committee report. Member Sandsted.
Thank you, Chair Harla. The Business Committee met 2 weeks ago and had an extensive conversation over a number of topics. Here we'll get through to the meat of it. We had a review of the financial report. Our investment balance is up $13 million from last year in December to, or from 2014 to 2015. I think our APU numbers were slightly increased over the prior month. And then I think we only had one fundraiser on the list this month. We didn't have any bids, RFPs, or quotes. And then we had an extensive discussion about the policies and regulations under number 3. There is a recommendation that we approve the deletion of policy 8065, which is the formulation of policies and bylaws, which is to be replaced by the new policy 208. There is a recommendation that we approve the deletion of policy 8020, which determines the meeting agenda, and that's being replaced with policy 203.5. There's a recommendation that we approve the deletion of policy 8100, adequate information to precede action, which we incorporated the important elements of that into the new policy 203.5. D, it's recommended that the school board approve the deletion of policy 9065, which regards adoption, amendment, and suspension of policies and bylaws, which is replaced by policy 208. It's recommended that we approve the deletion of policy 9075, which is the agenda setting for regular meetings, and is being replaced by policy 203.5. Also recommended that we approve the deletion of policy 9080, the advanced mailing of meeting materials, which was incorporated into policy 203.5. It's recommended that we approve the deletion of policy 9095, which established the order for business for regular meetings and is going to be replaced in part, or sort of divided between 203.5 and 203.2 and 203.5. We also reviewed new policy 203.2, which is the order of the school board meeting, which you can find on page 45. Included some minor corrections and the language regarding issues being governed, any questions being governed by Robert's rules when there's any question as to order of the meeting. Next is the recommendation that we approve policy 203.5 for the second reading, which is with regard to the school board meeting agenda and how that agenda is set. And this had long discussion in 2 business committee meetings and last month's meeting. And ultimately, the language that is drafted up is what was agreed on by consensus. There's a sentence at the end that is separated in brackets, which was agreed upon language by some members, but not a full consensus of the board at the committee meeting. And so it got separated out, and that language had extensive discussion but is not formally a part of the proposal at this time. Then there's also a recommendation that we approve policy 208 on page 48, which is the development, adoption, and implementation of policies. And this one we did a lot of work on, and everybody came to a consensus to talk about incorporating specific, talking both about policies and amendments to policies that they're going to come to school board members and the superintendent for review, and putting back in language regarding emergency policies and suspension of policies, keeping that from our existing language and incorporating that into the model language. So that was kind of the highlight of 208. So those were the policies that we reviewed in the business meeting. There were a number of contracts. No, there weren't any contracts to review this time. But we did have some resolutions. On page 51, there's a resolution for the acceptance of donations to Duluth Public Schools. Whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 requires a school district to accept donations by resolution expressed in the terms prescribed by the donor in full, and whereas acceptance of the donations in accordance with the donor's terms is in the best interest of the Duluth Public Schools, now therefore be it resolved that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described donations from said organizations in accordance with the terms set forth herein. Be it further resolved that the Duluth Public Schools wish to extend its grateful appreciation to these various organizations. And there's a number of specific donations, including the orchestra, the robotics team, and the choirleaders at East. So I would move Resolution B-2-16-3335.
It's been moved by Member Sandsted. Seconded by Member Leffler-Kemp. Any discussion? Member Welty.
Getting myself organized. What page is that resolution on?
Page 51.
Thank you.
Seeing no other lights, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, or resolution carries 7-0.
The next item discussed at the Business Committee meeting was the legislative platform for the school district for 2016. And the highlights there include the goal of increasing the general education formula to provide an ongoing adjustment to protect against the negative impact of inflation, full funding for special education services that are required by state statute, some integration revenue. We're asking the state to continue funding both interdistrict and intradistrict integration revenue. There is a part of the platform here is enhancements to the election rules, which would increase the filing fee for school board candidates to the level equal with other local candidates and allow the district an opportunity to reduce costs by moving elections to even years. Finally, there is a platform issue for eliminating mandates that have negative and unintended consequences, or repealing them. So that is the legislative platform that we reviewed. Then we had...
we need to move that one.
We need to move that one? Okay. So I move Resolution B-2-16-3336.
Second has been moved by Member Sandsted, seconded by Member Leffler-Kemp. Discussion. Member Johnston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to, I don't have a resolution to add to this or anything, but I would like to, I think we probably all know, the superintendent knows that there was a community meeting here a couple of days ago, and our local legislative delegation may be looking at, it's just in the planning stages, maybe looking at trying to get extra funding for our schools, for things for driver's education. And I think that was there seemed to be really a lot of support for that in the community. And again, if this happens, we don't know yet what the status is going to be or when, probably not this year, but I'm certainly hoping that the administration can keep working with our local delegation. And if something does come up, it would certainly be something that I think that we would want to support, and I've seen a lot of community that would support that as well.
Member Johnston, I had a good discussion with Representative Schultz, who's working on this, and as she had reached out to many of us and saw that she's not just looking directly at the district, she's actually looking at whether she's doing community forums to find the best place for communities across the state to be offering driver's education. And so I know that we'd be encouraged that she continue to do community forums and find out a lot of information from community partners to ensure that driver's education can happen in a place that makes the most fit. And she even talked about making sure that, you know, in Duluth, because when it comes to schools, there's a lot of liability that comes in. And so she spoke about the you know, there's other drivers academies in town that could be subsidized to have scholarships for folks, and talked about working with a state agency to ensure the best local solution could be met statewide. So thank you. Member Welty.
Yes, so just a comment, not about the legislative platform so much, but about the idea of lobbying for things that are of interest to the Duluth school system in St. Paul. We did get an invitation from Representative Schultz, a very kind invitation to meet with her. I was unable to make that meeting. But it did remind me of how things used to be in the old days. The issue of lobbying is a little more problematic for the school district at this point. When I was in the school board, and for a very long time, probably 20, 25 years, we had a lobbyist, Ron Solberg, who lobbied for the interests of the school district, often in concert with the lobbyists for the metropolitan school district lobbyists. And we no longer have that particular advantage. But one of the things that we used to do was not count on the legislators to contact us, but to form to set up a meeting ourselves with our local legislators, and especially in the absence of our own personal full-time lobbyist, I would just recommend that as we proceed into the future, we perhaps resume that old practice, contact the legislators and let them know what is of concern to us. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Superintendent Gronseth.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know that we have had contact with our local legislators. And last year we met, I think, almost every Friday during the session, talked about things going on, and we made sure that we were tracking any bills that had an effect educationally and specifically to Duluth, and plan to do that again this year. I would love to move to having a lobbyist in place before next year's session, which is a funding session.
Thank you. Member Welty. I'm guessing you're following up.
If I could just make a comment about that. I was unaware that was something that was taking place, and so I would like to have some updates if that is going to continue for this particular upcoming legislative session and into the future, so I can stay abreast of what we're doing.
Thank you. Member Leffler-Kemp.
Yeah, I just was going to share that I also attended the meeting with Representative Jen Schultz concerning the driving license and just transportation issues in general with Community Action Duluth and with CHUM and with the employment table. And very much these conversations have been going on for a year, and Representative Jen Schultz, who happens to be my state representative, is definitely in the information gathering stage. And so I do encourage any board members that have interest in this issue to contact her with any thoughts or ideas, but definitely in the information gathering stage. So thank you.
Thank you. Member Sandstead.
I would like to see us add some requests regarding pre-K funding into this legislative platform, whether or not it's something that the legislature will actually get to. I know that the Minnesota School Board Association and Education Minnesota both have language regarding funding for pre-K expansion. And I know our current pre-K offerings are, we don't offer at every elementary site, and it's difficult for working parents. And so I think that seeking out more support at the state level so that we can look to expand those programs and hopefully have great offerings in the near future is important. So I would propose that we add an element to the platform, and I'm comfortable with the language that the MSBA proposes, which is that that the state fully fund the expansion of school-based early education programs, allowing for school board flexibility in implementation and design to meet the needs of the local community.
Excuse me, are you looking to move, are you moving to amend?
Yes, I move to amend.
So Member Sandsted has moved to amend the legislative platform with a second from Member Welty. Am I correct? Okay. Making sure I heard correctly. And will you please read the resolution, or read your amendment again, please?
Sure. That the state fully fund the expansion of school-based early education programs, allowing for school board flexibility in implementation and design to meet the needs of the local community. Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on this amendment? Thank you, Member Sandsted. Any discussion on the amendment? I appreciate you bringing this forward, Member Sandsted. I think that, pre-K funding is really important, and I know it's something that you did a lot of campaigning on, and also having some pre-K folks in your family, and it's good to see that you're not just thinking about your family, thinking kind of community-wide with regard to pre-K expansion, and glad that we can support a statewide movement. So, seeing no other lights, we'll vote on the amendment. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Our amendment passes, so congratulations. All right. Any other comments on our legislative platform or questions? I want to thank our staff for taking time to put together our legislative platform, and it looks a little bit more, it's unique this year. I like that we've updated it and really are addressing our local concerns and highlighting the look at moving to even year elections. So all those in favor of moving our legislative platform for 2016, say aye. 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 Opposed? Resolution passes 7-0. On to the resolutions. Or continuing the resolutions.
Okay. Next up, we have a couple of property-related issues that we got separately, although I didn't even look to see what the differences were, but so I'm just going to refer to the memo that came separate. The first one is a recommendation that we approve Resolution B-2-16-3337, which regards the application and petition to vacate the City of Duluth existing road easement on the Rockridge School property. And Mr. Leader was kind enough to explain this to us at the meeting, where this is sort of an exchange that's happening on the Rockridge property between public easements, so that we're sort of shifting access, pedestrian access through the property so that we can sell some of the lots. So we have to first vacate, and then we have to approve a separate easement. So we're going to first Resolution B-2-16-3337, which is to approve the application and petition to vacate the City of Duluth's existing road easement on the Rockridge School property. Whereas the school board by Resolution B-12-15-3322 authorized the sale of a portion of the Rockridge School property, and whereas the buyer has identified in their due diligence the need to vacate a street easement through the subject property, And whereas in order to complete the sale transaction and transfer the property, the street easement must be vacated, now therefore be it resolved, the school board hereby authorizes the application and petition to the City of Duluth requesting the vacation of the street easement shown on Exhibit A, and be it further resolved, the school board hereby authorizes administration to sign and submit the application and petition to the City of Duluth for the street easement vacation and any other documents or testimony required to complete this process.
It has been moved by Member Sansad, seconded by Member Welty. Any discussion? Seeing no lights, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
And then the new easement is Resolution B-2-16-3338. Whereas Independent School District 709 is the owner of property described as lots 8 through 9, Block 1, and lots 3 through 4, Block 5, Lakeside Gardens in St. Louis County, Minnesota, known as the Rockridge School Site. And whereas the City of Duluth wishes to obtain this pedestrian walking path easement across the district's property for the benefit of the general public and the City of Duluth. And whereas the pedestrian trail easement is shown on Exhibit A. And whereas this pedestrian walking path easement is contingent upon the City of Duluth's vacation of the street easement generally described on Exhibit B, which we just discussed, now therefore be it resolved by the School District of Independent School Board Number 709, St. Louis County, State of Minnesota, that the dedication of the pedestrian walking path easement dedicated to the City of Duluth as conditioned above is hereby approved. Be it further resolved that the school board authorizes the school board chair to execute the final easement agreement upon approval of the vacation of the street easement by the City of Duluth described in School Board Resolution B-2-16-3337.
So it has been moved by Member Sansad, seconded by Member Leffler-Kemp. Seeing no lights. Oh, Mr. Leiter.
Chair, members of the school board, I just want to confirm that if your action is ultimately to approve these and so voted, we'll be holding the actual recording of these easements and dedications until we've confirmed the sale of property. Since without that sale, we may not want to proceed with them. I just want you to be aware of that.
Thank you very much for the clarification, Mr. Leiter. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution passes 7-0.
Okay, and then the last matter on this section of resolutions is with regard to the accepting property from the City of Duluth for the city's construction of the greenhouse near Denfeld High School. So this is Resolution B-2-16-3345. Whereas the City of Duluth is the owner of real property near Denfeld High School, and whereas the City of Duluth intends to construct a greenhouse on their adjacent property, which construction will require the vacating of a public alley, which currently supports access to the Denfeld school site, and whereas ISD 709 must maintain and preserve appropriate driveway and road access for the school, ISD 709 has requested the transfer of property as described on Exhibit 1, and whereas the City of Duluth is willing to convey the requested property to ISD 709, now therefore be it resolved, the School Board of Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, approves and accepts the transfer of property from the City of Duluth as described in Exhibit 1 attached hereto.
It's been moved by Member Sandsted. Seconded by Member Oswald. Any discussion? Seeing no lights, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes resolution passes 7-0.
On the last page of the Business Committee agenda here, we had some informational items, expenditure contracts, a facilities management and capital project status report, as well as an update to the 10-year capital facilities plan that Mr. Leader was kind enough to carry over from January. And we also had an update on the Nettleton school property sale, which was an extension of the purchase agreement. And we had an audit engagement letter from Whipley regarding the audit to be conducted for fiscal year 2016. And then we have a number of future items, which are policy updates, Homecroft School Forest Property Acquisition, Denfeld School CTE Edition Bid Award, Historic Old Central 3rd Street Parking Lot Reconstruction, and elevator renovation. So those are the future items on the business agenda.
It's been moved by...
Yes, I move the business committee agenda, or the business committee report.
It's been moved by Member Sandsted. Seconded. Do I have a second? Seconded by Chair Harla. All right, now discussion. All right, first, Member Welty, what would you like to pull?
I'd like to withhold, item 3I, new policy 203.5.
Okay. Member Johnston, what would you like to pull?
1F.
All right. Member Leffler-Kemp, what would you like to pull?
208.
208? So
I'm
that's
sorry.
We're sorry, which policy?
Sorry, I'm looking at this list. So it's 3J. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. We will go in order. Member Johnston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a real quick comment. There was a comment made that we had increased our enrollment by 25 at the Business Committee. That isn't correct according to our last month's thing. We are actually even. But that's good because this is the first time in a year that we haven't had a decrease. We're actually even, so that's good news. Let's hope it continues.
Thank you, Member Johnston. Mr. Hanson.
Just a point of clarification for the board. I apologize if I said it wrong, but I believe what I said was that the forecast on the bottom line had improved by about 25 pupil units from negative 86 to a negative 61 versus the budget that we had put together. So that's what I meant to say, and if I didn't say it that way, I apologize.
Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate your hard work. Member Welty. 3I.
Yep, 42.
Page 42 or page 46?
No, 46.
Okay, thank you.
I probably owe an apology to Member Sandstead. I was supposed to come up with the wording that we seem to have developed a consensus about concerning 3 people being able to add an item to the agenda so long as they did it in a timely manner. I neglected to do that, and I confess that to a couple of other members at some point, but was told not to worry because the wording that met that test was at the bottom of the policy that we are proposed to take a look at, 203.5. And that wording is as follows: upon the written request of 3 board members delivered to the chair no later than the Friday before an agenda setting session, an item will be placed on the agenda at the following meeting or a meeting soon thereafter as agreed upon by those involved. The only thing is that right now it's not really a part of the policy, so I am going to propose that we place that within the context of the policy so that it's clear that that is our intent. And I guess my quick recommendation would be under 3 procedures that we can keep all the verbiage that I see under procedure B there, 3B, but that we begin a subsequent portion, however, and then upon written request, et cetera, et cetera. So I move that we place that word behind the word or however directly at the conclusion of the verbiage that's currently in 3B.
As an amendment?
Well,
I would guess it would be an amendment.
It would be an amendment. I move that we amend the policy to read as I've just indicated.
I think it's been moved by Member Welty, seconded by Member Oswald. Any discussion? Member Sandsted.
We had a lengthy discussion on this topic at the committee meeting, actually both committee meetings that this was reviewed. And I think that allowing board members to put something on agenda is good policy. And my hope is that the concerns expressed by some other members that this could take up a lot of staff time or take up a lot of our time in meetings, that we as a board are going to be good stewards of this and make good choices, and that three members acting together can be a check on each other to ensure that we're working efficiently and effectively to govern the district and taking actions and putting items on the agenda that will move our district forward and improve our district, and that we're not revisiting old issues or bringing up things that won't be helpful to the district. So I am supporting this amendment as I think it's good policy, and I hope that it is used in that way.
I agree. Member Kirby.
I'd like to support Member Sandsted. I think that being efficient is something that we need to do, since 4- and 5-hour meetings are not beneficial for many people. I continue to be somewhat confused about what items cannot or haven't been on the agenda. I know during the campaign claims were made, well, certain people couldn't get things on the agenda. I'm not sure what has not been discussed. Seems to me a lot of things are discussed in detail. And I'm also concerned about potential, I say potential staff time that's used. Do we want to use our staff time to gather information for us? We get a lot of it, and we should have some, but I think it could be best spent dealing with helping kids. And I'm not sure that all of the information that comes to us is dealing with that all of the time.
Thank you, Member Kirby. Member Welty.
Yes, I would like to also second Member Sandsted's comments. Discretion is a challenging thing. Some people can be indiscreet and they can throw in lots of requests. I would point out that the verbiage immediately preceding this does give an individual school board member the opportunity to mention a topic, but no right to make sure that it will be discussed. This verbiage allows a significant minority, 3 people, to get together and play something. I will say that when I was on the school board in the old days, which I keep referring to because that's my frame of reference, there weren't an awful lot of school board members who cavalierly added things, because we had 4- and 5-hour meetings at those times too. And I agree, Member Kirby, meeting for 4 or 5 hours without a particular purpose to be gained is an exercise in mind numbing and not necessarily educational enhancement. But I would trust that this will always be the case, that you'll have a school board that will want to make sure that we talk about pertinent things and limit our discussion to those things that are pertinent. And I'm very grateful that this addition has been made and that we seem to have a majority prepared to accept this policy as it's been amended. Thank you.
Which is why I'll also be supporting that as well, too. Member Oswald.
I just wanted to echo support as everyone else has. I firmly believe that we need to take our role as board members seriously and be judicious, not only with our time, but with the time that is invested in the conversations we bring up. I think this is a valuable tool to ensure voices are heard if it's deemed important enough, and it takes a lot to convince 3 people. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. So this is on the amendment. Yes. Any other comments on the amendment? Member Kirby.
I just wanted to make sure I understand it. This is the request by 3 members would not necessarily be on the following month's agenda, but on what does it say? Soon thereafter. Okay, but it's not necessarily has to be done. Okay.
Thank you. Seeing no other lights on this amendment, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Our amendment passes 7-0. And now back to, so that's amended. Any other discussion on this policy that has been pulled? Yep, I want to make just a brief comment on that. A lot of time was put into this, into many policies coming through, and so want to appreciate board members for a robust and a really fair discussion, and have understood from conversations with a number of board members that they've felt heard and have felt like this conversation is a good and new season for us. We will move forward to the next member. Here we go. 3J, Member Leffler-Kemp. It's page 48.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm actually going to pass.
Okay. Yeah. It's going to pass. All right. Any other discussions on the business committee agenda for this month? Seeing no other lights, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Business committee passes 7-0. And now back to our agenda. No, there are no special resolutions. I just want to say this is the questions and other section. Member Welty, I know that I had to cut you off. This is where if you had a question, you'd be welcome to ask it. So just want to make sure I followed up on that. Member Welty.
All right. Well, I think I got the answer from the more precise question that Member Johnston put to Mr. Swirsky. But I guess you apparently, or I got the impression that you vouched that the decisions that were made related to the custodial changes were in fact what we had discussed a year ago. But I was hoping to ask the administration to verify your confidence in that statement.
And I would say that at this point in time, I don't think we're in the place to be able to comment on it. Other than I'd be happy to follow up with you after. Actually, you know what, Mr. Swirsky, would you mind?
Well, I think maybe a committee which maybe gets too far off, but I would get the question to the superintendent, and then we'll respond from there.
Okay. I'm going to give the administration time to answer because it's not on the agenda, so we couldn't. So we can add it as something to follow up with in writing. Member Johnston.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I want to say thank you, Chair, for allowing me to say something after the speakers. I think it's the first time I've ever done that in 6 years. I think it's very important in this case, the graduation rates and particularly the negative impact on the community of color. But that just made me think of something. Our policies do allow during people that speak. We can, according to our own policies, if I get the number now, that we can allow them to speak when that particular item is on our agenda. This time we didn't have an agenda item on the graduation rates. I'm hoping we will sometime in the future. But if we do that, just a suggestion to the chair that even though we haven't done this since I've been on there, I think it would be beneficial for the community as well to be able to speak when that agenda item is on there. And I forget the name, maybe somebody remembers the name of the policy that actually suggests that's an option, particularly when there's comments like we're done here today, and if we have that on the agenda topic. So just a suggestion.
Thank you.
And I'll look up that for you.
Thank you. Member Oswald.
I just have a general comment and that I want to thank my fellow board members for working so hard together on the 203.5 policy and the amount of trust that we've expressed in each other in accepting three board members being able to put something on an agenda is a huge milestone for us, and I really think we need to embrace that and pat each other on the back to say that, yes, we're moving forward in a positive direction and we're going to work together. And I think the community can recognize that as long as we can recognize that in ourselves.
Thank you. Just a reminder that the Think Kids meetings are coming up in the next 2 weeks. We really invite our community members to come out and provide feedback and input and share in successes and update us on some areas for growth, and we would love to have you join us. There's also ability to comment online, correct, Superintendent? So if you're not able to make it in person, feel free to send it online, send it by carrier pigeon, but we won't make Sue clean up after pigeons. So, okay, never mind. It's been a long night. Thank you very much. Seeing no other lights, we'll adjourn our meeting. Thank you.